All right. All right. So what I kind of want to talk to you guys about today is, when you're diagnosing a car, I get a lot of calls about, man, I don't have any codes. Where do I start? Or, it's something not that obvious. So, I get a lot of these calls, and those calls are really hard over the phone because I'm not there. I can't put my hands on it. I don't see something that would be, fairly obvious, to me or, somebody who's, maybe has more experience. To somebody who has more experience may, see it, almost immediately. So I kind of wanted to, talk to you guys about a few of those types of things, especially a few things I've ran into over the past couple weeks and things I've ran into, over the past, few years. So one of them was a 2004 GMC Sierra, just regular half-ton extended cab pickup. I was at a transmission shop. Truck drove in, started just fine, drove in. They put a transmission in it, and then after that, the truck would no longer start. No crank, no start, nothing. So they thought that maybe that the keys need to be programmed. Well, we all know that doesn't work. So I get over there, and the first thing that I notice, I stick the key in the ignition. Okay, the cluster doesn't light up. But if I give it about 15, 20 seconds, the cluster would eventually come on. So that's observation number one. Observation number two, it's a no crank, no start. Number three is that when the cluster did come up, I have no mill. Okay, malfunction indicator lamp, I have no mill. Okay, that's interesting. So I get out of the truck and I walk around. I notice that the left front headlamp is barely lit compared to the other side. So out of those things, what's the easiest to diagnose?
Sounds like it has a ground problem.
Yeah, but if you're going to diagnose it, are you going to diagnose the cluster problem, the no crank, no start, the no mill, or a dim headlamp?
Dim headlamp.
I'm going with the dim headlamp. That's the easiest thing to diagnose.
Power.
It's a GMC truck. You pull the two little pins out of the tail or out of the headlamp. Headlamp falls in your lap. So the first thing I do is I go yank the tail light out. I grab my power probe. I go over, hit it. I got 12 volts, which I expected. I didn't think we're dealing with a voltage issue. And so I go over and I hit the negative. And one thing interesting, if you guys have worked with the power probe, is you'll notice that the power probe will do certain things, but it won't tell you that's what you're seeing. One of them is if you stick the power probe in, it goes, okay? You have continuity to ground. You do. But it won't hold a load. Okay? So I know I have ground. I have some sort of ground. I have a continuity to ground, but I don't have a good ground. Okay? So this. All right. Come on. All right, can you guys see my screen? Okay. All right, so we have our left front headlamp here, right? So if we go down and we look through here, we have G104. Okay, it was a gas engine, so G104. So now, I gotta close you guys out of my way. So we're going to go over here and we're going to look for G104. So we can go here to location. And you think I was running AT&T internet. There we go. So we are going to go down. We're going to go find G104. G104. Okay. So right there's G104. Okay. Direct on the back of the block. Okay. So what they say they did to this thing? They put a tranny in it. I still have no idea why they would have messed with this bolt at all. But I stick my hand back down here and I can turn this bolt by hand. Okay. So I get a can of brake clean. I clean it all off because it's full of grease, dirt, and all other things known to mankind. And I get that little bolt nice and tight. And go back in the truck, hit the key, bam, starts up. Okay. Issue resolved. Now, diagnosing this truck simply required a 13-millimeter wrench, a power probe, and a wiring diagram. Right? Don't need a scanner to diagnose this car. Okay? But it's using your senses. Something's not right. Pick the easiest thing to diagnose. Okay? The easiest thing was the headlight. That's the simplest thing to diagnose out of that whole circuit. Right? And that took us back to what was actually wrong with the car. Okay. Another one that we had was a newer Ford Escape that was actually today. We get out there, they put a transmission in this car. The shop was completely incompetent. We figured that out pretty quickly. They said that the car wouldn't crank. So, then you put a transmission, it doesn't crank. That's pretty weird. So, we get down there, I hit the key. You can hear the starter engage, just the click, the solenoid, but nothing else. So, I just simply grab a test light and I go stick it on the main battery feed to the starter. I have nothing. So, where does it go? All right, it goes over to the battery junction block. Let's look in there. Hey, look, the genius didn't, he put the ground cable to the positive of the battery. Smoked the 500 amp fuse, and that was that. Get a fuse for it, and vehicle starts and runs. So what I'm getting at, guys, is that there's stuff that when you're going and looking at a car, you're like, man, I have no idea. I don't know what's going on. I don't have any codes, but it's doing whatever it is. Use your senses. Look around. Does it smell right? Does it look right? Does it feel right? All those types of things are all really important, in looking at and diagnosing these vehicles. Another one that I had was a Toyota Tundra. It had a very, very strong parasitic draw. It was enough of a draw that it would drain the brand new battery within about 10 minutes. And within 10 minutes, it was about 6 volts from a fully charged battery. It was a significant draw. Of course, draws don't set codes. You get low voltage codes, but there's no code that says, Bluetooth module is causing battery draw. That'd be sweet, but in there. Okay. So, On this particular vehicle, it was a very light front end hit. They did have to pull the core support out of it, but it was overall a very, very minor hit. The truck was kind of hit up high. It was kind of a weird hit, but so anyway, we had this really strong parasitic draw on this thing. And so I've got my low amp clamp on it, and I'm watching this draw. I'm like, okay, something's drawing a significant amount of amperage. So, the first thing I start to do is, okay, let's figure out what's staying alive. What's doing this, okay? So instead of going through and systematically pulling fuses and relays and all of that stuff, whenever an electrical component has an increase in amperage going through it, it heats up, right? If you have a dead short on a power wire, what does it do? It gets hot, okay? Because the amperage has increased in that conductor, and therefore it will heat up. So the first thing that I do is I go over and I pull the top off of the main fuse box, and I put my hand on it. There's about 10 relays in the top of this fuse box. I put my hand on it, and holy shnikes, there's a relay that is hot. I mean hot. So let's find out what that relay powers. It's got to power something, right? So I find out that it runs the fuel pump, okay? So, a fuel pump's not going to pull that kind of amperage. It's just not. Even if it's running full bore, it's not going to pull that many amps. But that was a symptom, right? A hot relay, okay? So I pull the relay out, I check it, and I find that relay is staying fielded all the time, okay? So on that particular vehicle, the fuel pump relay is ran by the PCM. So first thing I do is I go unplug the PCM. Unplug the PCM, and I still have a fielded relay, okay? So I know it's not a PCM problem. Narrowed that down pretty quick. So now I'm dealing with a harness problem, okay? So the first thing that I do is I stick my power probe in the what would be the ground to field the relay, and I just let it sit in there with a little lead on it, and I start wiggling the wiring harness. And all I'm doing is I'm going down the wiring harness, I'm just squeezing it as I'm going, right? So I get to one little spot by the radiator. I grab a hold of it, and my power probe goes beep, boop, and goes off. I wiggle it a little bit more, power probe kicks back on. All right, so that's where I have an issue there, right? That's obviously what's keeping that grounded. So pull the harness out a little bit, open it up, and I find 3 or 4 wires that are cut. And in those wires was one of the wires that went to that relay. And the funny thing about it is that where it was at was a very strange place. And also, there was no visible damage to the outside covering of the wiring. And so that was kind of the weird part about it is that I'm not entirely sure if that was caused from the accident. I think it may have actually been a production issue that just reared its head once they started wiggling and moving that wiring harness around, because there was no visible damage to it. That's the other things that you have to look out for is was it caused by the accident on that particular truck? I could say, okay, I'll bite. The insurance company will end up paying for it. Um,
I got a question.
Yep.
So you're saying you felt no damage or saw no physical damage?
No, I just sent a picture out to the Elite family group.
Okay.
I'll also send on group me if whoever may not be on the Elite family. But yeah, you'll see in the picture. I'll see if I can even show it to you guys this way. Nah, it doesn't show up where the shit does.
It's hard. You got to get it zoomed in.
Yeah.
But you're saying the black loom, wire loom damage?
Correct. There was no damage to it at all.
Now, okay, you got into the wiring itself. Was any damage or any physical thing, verbal, visual, like if the wire is twice the size it's supposed to be, or any?
No, there was no damage, visible until I pulled the loom off. Once I pulled the loom off, then the damage was obvious. But before I pulled that apart, there was no damage externally on that wiring harness, which was kind of the weird thing about it, which made me kind of think that it may have been a production issue due to where it was located. It was kind of a strange deal. Geez, oh, Pete.
They always are, guys. And the key to this is we've had another incident where one of my personal friends says, man, this was so small, it just cracked a reflector lens. When we got the bumper off, when we got the loom apart, there was damage. So again, what I tell my guys, you can't be lazy. Everybody else has that's worked on this car. The key, though, guys, you got to feel it, you got to look at it, and you got to really look at it, because it is so minute of an imprint, but it's making a difference on these new cars and their safety systems. Go ahead, Steve. Sorry, I didn't mean to get on a rant.
No, you're fine. It was giving me a minute to look through here, and I just sent those pictures, and now I can't find them.
I had a car yesterday, a 98 Oldsmobile Silhouette harness that runs across the top of the radiator. There's 3 wires in it that got heated up and discolored. Brand new wires from the connectors to the PCM. Vehicle started up afterwards.
Andrew's been hot lately, guys. He's been out there fixing them. I'm really proud of Andrew.
Yep.
You got to keep your senses about you. You're very right. I mean, Andrew's found a car that with the complete wrong harness, and they put it in, and it still didn't fix the car. So he went back and told them where they didn't plug it in. That's all I can say about Dallas. Gives me goosebumps.
Select another $225 from them to plug in the harness too.
There you go.
That's the payoff, guys. They scream, recheck, you didn't know what the hell you're doing. When we do fix it, just slip them a couple-hour bill or whatever the time was. I'll stand behind it, and I'll go collect it if they won't.
Yep. So, like on this Tundra, it was kind of a strange deal. The damage wasn't obvious, but it took, some simple tools. It took a power probe in your hands, to look at it and try to figure it out. So be aware of what you're working on. We had another instance with a Traverse. We found that they had overlaid the data wires going to the fuel pump module. This wasn't made immediately clear to me whenever I was helping the technician. We found this later on.
Didn't they do it with speaker wire too?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep. Because we all know speaker wire is the best set of braided pair you can get.
Follow up on that vehicle. They wouldn't let us touch it anymore after we told them it needed a harness. They took it to the dealer. They waited 4 days, and they were sold a new wiring harness and a new PCM.
Yep.
I refunded the customer the money, told him, I'm sorry, we can't help you any longer.
Another one bites the dust.
Yep. And, it all goes back to, use your senses. Sometimes things, you don't have codes, or it doesn't immediately set a code. Another one this week, it's kind of the same thing was, we had a lane keep camera on a Lincoln that would not calibrate.
Yeah, that sucked.
Yeah, the technician, who will remain nameless, Dustin Braley.
Oh, thanks,
Drove
Steve. Appreciate
around
that.
for 2 hours trying to get it to calibrate. Guys, if it doesn't calibrate within 10, 15 minutes of driving, it ain't gonna. Okay. So one of the first things. Hold on a second.
Is that our lunch? Our dinner? Did we get pizza tonight?
Hey, all I'm saying is I drove around for 2 hours because I was instructed to drive around for 2 hours, okay?
Hey, I chased that Toyota blind spot for hours that day.
Yeah.
At Tim's buddy shop.
So, what was the first two things that I asked you, Dustin?
You asked me if it had an aftermarket windshield in it. And you asked me if there were any defects in the windshield.
Yep.
Defect.
And we found out that it had an OEM glass.
But it was but it had a defect in it.
But it had a defect and it had a ripple in the windshield.
Yes, it did. It looked like a magnifying glass right over where the camera comes out at.
Yep. So on these cameras, guys, it's just like your eyeballs looking through a pair of glasses. If I put a bend in the lens of your glasses, it'd be very difficult to see out of it, right? It's the same thing for these optical cameras, okay? They use optic level glass in these cars for that reason. Because these cameras have to have a clear view of the road ahead. So it goes back to using your senses. There was no scan tool involved, to diagnose that problem. It was simply just looking at it and saying, hey, that's not right. And the same thing goes back with the Traverse, with the Traverse with the overlaid data wires, right? Same thing. Something's not right. There's something that's missing here, or something that's not right. And that's what I want you guys to do is, I've rode with Gateman today. I've ridden with Dylan and I've ridden with Alex. And I've told you guys all the same thing. You got to look around, right? Like today, when we had three different cars at one shop, two of them had issues that weren't programming problems, right? So, we took a quick look at them. One of them, the truck was foobarred. Belonged to a 17-year-old kid, and it looks like he may have went swimming in it.
Mm-hmm.
The other one was a Chevy truck that they put a junkyard column in it, and it had all sorts of pass lock problems. Once again, didn't even take a scan tool.
May I make a quick comment about those junkyard columns? May I make a quick comment about those junkyard columns? Guys, if you don't need to use them, disassemble them use the stuff that came with the truck. If and the less problems overhauling steering columns if you're putting that shitty wiring harness that came with that car. Could be pinned wrong. It could be many things. It's best to use what you got if you can. Disassemble the old.
Yep. Yep. And the other one that Chris and I ran into today, was that Escape. What do we spend? 5 minutes with a test light?
Yeah, as soon as they said, hey, we put a transmission in, now it won't start, that means something's not right.
Yep. Especially at these body shops, this is where the skill really comes into its own of looking, trying to figure it out. There has to be something, right? At these body shops, we tell you guys, go back to the scene of the accident, right? If the car was hitting the left front, why are you in the right rear? Go back to the left front. That's probably where your problem is. I know each and every one of you guys have heard me say it to you. What was done in the car? Where was it hit? That's 90% of what I need to know. Is what they do to it? Where was it hit? That's what you got to know. So whenever you guys go out and you're looking at these cars, be aware of these things. Go and look. Go grab things, move them around, shake them, twist them. Whatever you got to do. Same thing goes if you roll up to a mechanic shop. And, we put a transmission and now it won't start. Okay? So it ran before, so they induced a problem. Something they've done. Right? So that's where you need to go look. What did they do? Because it drove to the scene of the accident more often than not.
It did.
I had a weird one a few days ago that the car didn't drive to the scene of the accident. It was hit while I was sitting on the side of the road, and it was a no start. So that was kind of weird. But, we ended up finding out that car, I think, had a little bit more issues than I think the reason it was sitting on the side of the road is because it died there. So, sometimes stuff like that.
I had one the other day at a mechanic shop that it came in on the hook. They replaced the engine on it. It wouldn't start, but it also didn't have a check engine light. And all it was just a loose ground that the tech didn't tighten down. But again, like you said, go back to the scene where all the action happened. I just started checking the wiring around there. Sure as shit, loose ass ground.
Was it a Honda?
It was a Chevy Silverado 1500.
Yeah, so if you guys haven't ever ran into this, similar to what Will was saying on Hondas, on the 4-cylinder Civics and Accords, the little plastic bracket that bolts to the side of the cylinder head that kind of directs the wiring, a little known fact is that in the middle of that is a ground. And so I don't need to put all those 10 millimeter bolts back in there. And the car doesn't start. So if you guys ever run into a Honda, late model Civic, Accord, I think the CRV as well, look to see if there's a little ground in the middle of that thing. That fixes a lot of them. Actually, I got kicked out of a shop for finding that one time.
We used to see it a lot. I worked at a dealership, and they had a recall on the Civic short blocks for losing coolant, and a lot of the techs were good for that. I just put this engine in here, it didn't start, and the bolt looks different than any of the other bolts. And you know right away when you see it laying off the side, hey, you need to put that bolt in.
Yep. Seen a bunch of them. If you guys look in the blacklist folder in Dropbox, you'll see One Stop Automotive. You're welcome. I got kicked out of that shop for actually fixing that car. It was a 2006 Honda Civic. Put a little 10mm bolt in. The guy lost his mind because I charged him $105. Yeah, and it went south from there real quick.
How dare you fix this problem?
Yeah, he made the really stupid mistake of saying, well, I want to talk to the owner. And I goes, okay, gladly. So, of course, that was back when it was just the four of us. But, you've heard all these guys say the same thing. Go back to the scene of the accident. Go back to, what they did. Hold tight 1 second.
I'll go ahead and take it over. I'm scared to talk. Elite family questions.
I was going to mention one Toyotas with the E-bolts for the fuse boxes that keep getting burned up because they used the wrong bolt, not using the E-bolts for the grounds.
Yes, sir. 2012 to 2014, Toyota made a change. The body techs used to be able to take the wiring loose from the front of the car and drive it to paint. Once they made the body style change and made those grounds more necessity, when a body tech leaves it apart, it makes it pretty much through paint and gets back in his stall, or the module melts because of the grounds and the headlights stay on. But you're spot on with that one. That's another good one.
Yeah, and if it's a hybrid, that's expensive.
Yes. Yes.
Bo found that out the hard way this morning or this afternoon.
Ooh.
Yep.
But the found more problems?
Yeah, it smoked the module, the harness, the accumulator, and the brake controller. About $7,000 on a Camry hybrid, just FYI. That's not a cheap one.
Out there, guys. Toyota's got the bulletin on it. I used to carry it around and give it to body techs.
It's in Dropbox.
It's in Dropbox. That's a really good one.
Yep. So, what else did I want to cover? So another one. So a lot of us down here in the southern part of the United States, we don't see a ton of all-wheel drive vehicles. But we are seeing more of them. And there's your common ones, your Subarus. Everybody sees Subarus. But there are other all-wheel drive cars out there. So I wanted to talk about two of them that I've ran into recently. One of them was a Nissan Rogue all-wheel drive. No codes, but it would come up on the message display. Stop vehicle all-wheel drive system fault. Okay. Basically what it was, so they use a center differential. Okay. It's a vectoring differential. So it can supply power to the front or rear wheels depending on what it needs by engaging and disengaging clutch packs. So he's driving down the road after about 20 minutes of driving and keeps setting this, but it sets absolutely no DTCs in any module on this car, okay? So the very first thing I told him was, does it have like one brand new tire on it and like 3 racing slicks? Did you go around and check all the tire sizes? And he's like, no, I didn't. I said, all right, well, get out and check them. So he walks around. He's like, 215, 50, 215, 50, 16, 215. Right, and he gets 20. He goes, hey, it's a 225, 65.
Bingo.
There's your problem. Okay? You got 3 different size tires on a car that's all-wheel drive. They don't work, right? It's an effective reduction or increase in ratio, right? It's like the same thing if you have your Chevy Z71 off-road extended cab, and you're running 35 1250s on the back, you're running 33 1250s on the front, and you put that thing in four-wheel drive, what happens? You need a scoop shovel because you done broke some parts, right? Same thing goes for all-wheel drive cars. If you have issues like that, they replaced a tire, the other three are bald and you have one that's brand new, it will also cause that problem. Another one that we ran into was a Ford Focus RS, okay? So there's some interesting things about the Focus RS. One is that it has 2 torque vectoring differentials. It also has a center vectoring differential, okay? So basically, the all-wheel drive system in the Focus RS is capable of putting almost all of the engine power to one wheel, okay? So if it wants to send all of its 235 horsepower to the right front wheel, it's capable of doing so, okay? So the problem that we had is that the body shop didn't pay attention when the wheels came back from the rim company, and it had 2 different size tires. The back tires were larger than the front tires, okay? So what happened was that the customer kept driving it, and it kept throwing warnings on the dash. They didn't think it was anything major, and that they would get it back to the shop at the end of the week, okay? Well, what happened was that the car ended up leaving the guy on the side of the road, and it smoked the front vectoring differential, the rear vectoring differential, and the center vectoring differential, okay? It's about $14,000 in damage.
Cha-ching.
Just from 2 tires being the incorrect size. So when you're dealing with all-wheel drive vehicles and you're having, these types of issues, first thing you need to do, if they've done any wheel, tire, suspension, anything, you guys need to go look at those tires and make sure that they all are the same size. And even tread wear can cause this problem. I've ran into this with Volkswagens, particularly Volkswagen and Honda. If you have 2 front bald tires because it's a hot rod and your back tires are brand new, they won't set the tire pressure monitors because they're indirect, okay? So it's seeing that the front and rear tires are moving at a slightly different speed, which will indicate that they are underinflated or overinflated, and it will not, that you can't reset the TPMS system because of that. I've done it in the past where I've had a Volkswagen that had 2 bald tires on it. I underinflated the 2 new ones and slightly overinflated the 2 bald ones and got it to reset, and then reset the tire pressures to their correct specification. Told the customer, hey, you need to put 2 new tires on this car, and I got the system to set that way. I didn't leave it like that. I did go back and reset the proper tire pressures, but I got the system to take and noted that, that they needed 2 new tires for that vehicle. So that's another thing to look out for. Is your scanner going to tell you that? It might, but you also have to remember that your scan tool is only reading, in 1 mile per hour increments. Take, 5-30 seconds of tread off. Are you going to pick that up on your scan tool? No, you're not. Right? So that's where it goes back to, you got to look at it. You got to walk around, look at the tires. These things won't set code sometimes. They won't be that obvious all the time. So have a look around the car. If something doesn't match, then that's more than likely going to be your problem. This is all stuff, guys, it doesn't require a scan tool. It doesn't require something special. You know, it requires you to look at it and, you know, some basic stuff. You know, you don't want to overcomplicate the thing. You know, these are fairly simple things, you know.
Can't hear you, Steve.
Can't hear you no more.
Yeah, you went quiet.
Give a volume on.
That's some pretty crazy stuff. We just had an influx of 16. We're up to 16 people. How about now, Steve? Can you hear us?
I still got no audio for him.
No audio. Steve's bringing up lots of good points, guys. I guess we're going to call this one using all the senses. But we really like Steve. He does a wonderful job. He works without any pay. Just a cookie here.
2 cookies.
2 cookies.
Yeah, 2 cookies.
He really does care about the family, guys. He pours his heart and soul into the thing. We're growing. We just got to find him a team, some people for his team. There's going to be more than he'll be ever do.
So I joined the right time, huh?
Yes, absolutely. You got anything good you want to say? Steve just went quiet. Everybody knows Tim Turbo? Where are you technically out of? We call it
Philadelphia, I guess.
Right, okay, good. Maybe I will come there someday.
You should. It's better than Dallas. Not that hot.
Not that hot.
And we have Eagles here.
Philadelphia. Yeah, you might as well just keep that to yourself.
People are a lot meaner up there, that's for damn sure.
People is a lot meaner here. Yeah, you're right, guys.
And that Northeast is it's a different beast if you've never been there.
Yeah, it is different. I've been many times to Dallas, and I think the people down there is much nicer. They're like, you know, here it's a little different.
Looks like Steve got out. He'll get back in, but he'll come back.
I do have one for going to body shops with these hybrid cars. A lot of them won't start if they don't have the rear lift gate on them or door. It will put it in the default where everything checks out to be right, but it just won't crank and start.
It doesn't even have to be a hybrid.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be a hybrid, Andrew. That's a very good point.
I come across it more often on hybrid, but yeah.
But
right.
anything with the push button start.
Yep. It feels that it ain't all closed up. Good point.
So, do you guys do this often? Like
Wednesday night, we usually have pizza.
We usually have pizza. Good.
Yeah. Come get some, man. Just make it to the office. Get you some fucking pizza.
Right back, right?
Yeah.
Problem is, I don't eat pizza, so.
Yeah.
I tell you what, if you made it down here, I got a place down here. I'll bring you a Philly cheesesteak.
Oh, okay. Now we're talking, man. I'll see you guys soon.
Yeah.
You guys have any questions on our European stuff? You want to know something about European?
I'm scared.
European. Something good, something basic would help everybody.
I mean, if anybody has problem with European, you
back.
can always call me.
We definitely do appreciate
I can always help you. If I
You
can,
gotta-
you know.
You got to take to heart what Tamir is saying. He really does. He helps us.
Steve.
I know nothing about them and don't even like them. He's able to help me.
I take them all. I'll take them all.
All right, guys, I'm back. Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yep.
All right. For some reason, my laptop just ceased to work. So, really, what I was getting at, guys, is be aware of your surroundings. I think every guy that's in here that's been doing this for a while will agree that your senses, looking around, seeing what doesn't fit, something it will help you tremendously. Trying to fix these cars, trying to figure out what's wrong. That's what I want to get through to you guys. Is take the time, look around. See that something doesn't fit. Or something that doesn't. Just isn't right. Talk to the customer. Find out what did they do to the car. Where did you work? What did y'all do to it? Ask those questions, guys. It's going to help you dramatically.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
It's going to help you dramatically. And it doesn't matter the car. I don't care if it's a Rolls Royce or a Fiesta. Makes no difference. The same principles apply to everything. But that's really what I wanted to get across to you guys, and in this little class today is be observant. Look at what's going on. Okay. Anybody have anything to share? If they want to talk about, ask questions about.
I know the tire size will also affect the self-parking of the cars as well.
Very correct, it will.
Ran into that on a Ford. That was fun.
Yep.
I had a Kia one time that it wouldn't exhibit a problem until you went over about 75 mile an hour.
I didn't know a Kia could go over 75 miles an hour. like
Day before yesterday, I had the Nissan Rogue 2017, I believe, or 18, something like that. It had the all-wheel drive light would come on and says the all-wheel drive is overheating. Stop the vehicle. And you had no faults, nothing. The tires was wrong on the car. They put one tire that was different size than the other on the front. Steve, actually, if you remember, you told me to check the tire size.
I talked about that car earlier.
Yeah. Oh, you did?
Yep.
Also, I had it today, 18 Navigator. Use that new system on the Ford FDSR, whatever it's called.
FDRS.
FDRS. Very cool system. Very easy to use. Very, very fast. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I used it about a week and a half ago on an 18 Navigator as well. Very user friendly.
Yeah, very user friendly. It was like walk in the park, and I like it a lot. It's like between the BMW and the Benz. Some very close.
Yep, everybody's all going over to their global platforms now to cut production costs. So,
That's very cool.
yep, that's why we're seeing FDRS. So, just for you guys to know, FDRS is it does a couple of things. One is it's a J2534 programming platform for 96 and newer Ford vehicles. So you can use it with your Mongo, Cardac, any J2534 app. The other part of FDRS is that is the scan tool for and up Navigator Expedition and EcoSport. And whenever the Ranger comes out, the Ranger will be on FDRS as well as the Bronco. Will all be on the FDRS.
So Steve, if I have the Ford 90, for instance, 2002, I can use FDRS to program it.
Correct.
Wow. I'll use it all the time then.
Yep. Also, another thing that Ford has introduced is the you have the ability through PTS, through Ford SI, through the toolbox. If your VCM is attached through PTS, that you can actually go in and program modules through the Ford website. They're recommending this method on most 15 and ups. It's kind of a newer thing. I think I've only shown Junior how to do it so far. But if you guys run into a 15 and up that may be giving you some issues programming or not giving you proper, as-built or on as-built, something like that, I will show you how to do it through PTS.
Next time I call you, definitely.
Yep. You can do it through PTS. It works really well. It's a little quicker than the actual IDS program, but you can only do one module at a time. So you have to go in, program that one module, come out of the program, go back into it to program another module. This system is up to date to the minute from Ford. As where with your updates where you get them every X number of days, this is real time. So if they've made an engineering change on the fly, something like that, it's done there. So if you are having issues programming 15 and up Ford, the first thing I would try is to complete the programming through the PTS site.
So it's basically like a bands. When I connect to the bands, I connect right to the server, and I get the vehicle as-built data from there, not
Correct.
from the. Okay, cool.
Correct. Yep, it's something new that Ford's started doing. So if you guys run into stuff like that, that's a great tool. You still have to have a license and everything, for it to work. But if you guys want to give it a shot, I'll show you guys how to do it. It is only on 15 and up, and on the Super Duties, 17 and up. Whenever they change the trucks.
But FDRS, I can use it on 2008 and up, right?
Yeah, FDRS will program, PCMs and all.
Right, like I had BCM. I had to put 15 lines of freaking as-built data in there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, you can use FDRS for it.
How about Mazda? Does it do Mazda?
Nope.
Nope.
So here's about Mazda, in case you guys don't really know this. So Mazda has cut all ties with Ford Motor Company. Okay.
Okay.
So starting in 2020, Mazda will have no support through FMC. Okay. So they have, they're going to their own proprietary diagnostic tool. It's going to be very similar to the Hyundai Kia GDSM system. It'll be Android tablet based. And that's about all we know about it. They're not really investing too heavily in the IDS side of it at the moment. Starting in 2019, that tool is supposed to be starting to be introduced at the dealer level. So we'll kind of see what happens in the next year or so with Mazda. So Mazda's making some big changes in the way they're doing things. From what I understand also is that they have some relationship with Renault. So I'm presuming that their new system will be very similar to that of the Renault system. If you guys ever get a chance to poke around on the Renault system.
Yeah, my condolences, to all of us. Because Renault is the biggest piece of shit I ever worked on.
Yep. Yeah, Renaults are right there with Alfa Romeo. At least Alphas are beautiful to look at.
Yeah,
on the back of the tow truck.
Yeah.
Back to the.
You got something good to look at least.
What is the first year we can use the FDRS?
So FDRS for programming. So
For programming.
games and stuff, it will do 96 and up.
96.
Yeah. The scan tool function side of it is 18 and up Navigator, Expedition, and EcoSport. And when the Rangers released later this year, and then when the Broncos released mid-production next year, it will also be on the FDRS platform. There's also expected a change for their compact and mid-sized cars as well. That I believe is the 2020 model year, that they will also be on the FDRS platform.
That's very cool.
So
96 and up, huh? Oh shit.
Yep, it will program them.
Good. That's all I'm gonna use from now on. There is no point to even look at the S-Build data and entering manually. If the tool can do it, save some time, efficiency.
Accurate. It's more accurate when it does it than I do it.
Yeah.
What I like about entering as-built data is that somehow it doesn't know the as-built data, but if you enter it wrong, it knows it's wrong.
Yeah, that never made sense to me.
Yeah, right. It doesn't know if it's it doesn't know S-Build data, but if you enter wrong, it tells you it's wrong.
I'm going to tell you right now, that system was designed by a woman.
Bro, yeah, 100%, man. No logic behind it. By the way, Benz is coming out with a new platform too. I think it's next year, so it's going to be total different. They already changed at the dealer. They already changed all their hardware, so they are getting ready for it.
Awesome.
So we're going to have more challenges coming up.
Yes, we are. Yes.
Yay, challenges.
The challenge is going to be the software again. Have we be able to program all the modules, or they only going to let us to do? What, I'm sorry?
I think it was somebody's radio.
Yeah, we're gonna have fun at Nissans here pretty soon too. They're coming out with variable compression engines.
Yep, so is Mazda.
Oh boy.
Yep.
Variable compression engines.
Yep, they can adjust the length of the crankshaft to turn it into a stroker or non-stroker.
It's
Yeah.
insane, guys.
Yeah,
It's insane.
I see zero problems coming out of that.
Yeah, let me tell you.
Zero problems coming.
It's like they say they're variable transmission. Yeah,
Yeah, we see how well that worked.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's fucking
for the
worked great.
variable valve timing.
Yes,
Not as bad as
60,000
the
miles.
hydrogen engines that are coming out.
You know, for me, it's one of those things that's, you know, if Mercedes or BMW, you know, somebody like that, even Ford, you know, come out and said, yeah, we're building a variable compression engine, you'd be like, that's pretty cool. But if Nissan or General Motors says, hey, we're going to variable compression engine, you're like, ain't going to work. I'll tell you right now.
I tell you what, the Nissan built the first production of the four-cylinder turbo engines for a Mercedes-Benz. Out of 1,000 cars, 980 was recalled for the camshaft were breaking in half. And I have a video of you when the car had 400 miles and wouldn't start. We take the valve cover off and the camshaft broken in half, like right in the middle. That's what happened with Nissan.
Yep.
Nice quality.
And that little car they have, Nissan QX30, it's a Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah,
It's 100% Mercedes-Benz. There is no Nissan parts in it.
Yeah, it's a GLA.
It's a GLA. It's the same thing with I think Q50 Coupe. It has the Mercedes engine and the trans. It's the twin turbo, the 276 motor with a twin turbo.
Yeah, the first time I ran into one of those Infinities, I'm just looking at it and I popped the hood. I'm like, oh, that's rude.
You take the cover off, all the valve covers, all the sensors. There is a Mercedes-Benz emblems. It's like, what the fuck is this? Did you see the handles? All the handles, all the controls are bent. All the buttons are bent. It's.
Yep.
Anybody work on Tesla?
Not if I can help it.
So Tesla has all the Benz components in there. Everything electrical, it's the Mercedes Benz. The Benz even designed the screens for Tesla. The screens made by like ABS pump. It's Mercedes Benz. The air suspension. It's a Benz Arnott's struts. They use all the Benz components that in the Tesla. All the switches, all the the steering wheel, all the control, the system, the way it works. It has a cast like a Benz. Exactly the same system. So Tesla should be very easy to work on for us. And it's the next step because we see more and more Teslas, in them shops.
Yep.
So we should do about it,
We have one store here in Dallas that has, I'd guess, at least 20 of them parked there, waiting on parts. This whole thing has to break free somehow. People don't buy cars, wreck them, and just leave them. So it's got to be able to start working on it sooner or later.
Maserati, the same thing. You cannot get parts for Maserati. You have to wait 6 weeks for the freaking grill for the Maserati. 6 weeks. It's like impossible. I mean, I've been in the shops when the customer came in with broken bumper cover. They ordered a bumper cover. The customer come back 8 weeks later. They take the bumper off and they find more parts are broken inside. And it's like another 8 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why you'd buy a Maserati to start with. You pay $110,000 for it, and 6 weeks later you can buy it on eBay for $28,000.
Yeah, but it's a poor man's Ferrari. That's what it is. At least the GT has the Ferrari engine in it.
Yeah.
But every other model, it's a Chrysler.
I'll keep my Type R.
I'm okay with my four-door sedan.
Yeah, right. You got a four-door sedan, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, very fast four-door sedan.
700 horsepower four-door sedan, but it's a four-door sedan.
For the
707.
Oh, excuse me. I forgot about that extra 7 horsepower.
Yeah, 7, right?
Too
7 more
slow.
horses behind.
That's
You know, you can just change
horsepower
that over to
just
like.
the emblem.
You just change that over to 1400 duck power.
It won't run 10-second quarter mile. It's a slow car.
10-second quarter mile. Holy shit.
And that Dodge will run a 10-second quarter mile?
It'll
No,
think
sir.
about it real hard.
It'll only go 11 O's.
It might do it. It might do it on a trailer behind a Chevrolet, huh?
Oh. Sounds like we got something brewing.
Hey, Baker, Steve.
Yo.
Over here at Collins Brothers, they have a
Yeah.
Hellcat powered Wrangler that they're needing some help with.
What could possibly go wrong?
And I'm serious.
We'll come over and help them.
I already got it on my schedule. They do have a Hellcat powered Wrangler that they're trying to get running.
Excellent.
Yeah, we're going to tear it up.
I'm coming by to look at that tomorrow.
We're up for a challenge. He's got plenty of money. I've seen him on TV.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Heck yeah.
We've done
It better
some.
be on TV or it didn't happen.
Yeah, we've done some interesting stuff with Fords here in the past year or so. With we did the very first GT 500 automatic swap.
GT 500.
Yep.
Why would you touch the GT 500?
They drag raced it, and so they scrapped the factory 6-speed and went with the automatic in it for drag races. About a 1,400 horsepower car. So it's kind of cool doing the very first one and figuring out how you go about actually programming it. It was an interesting process. Took a little while to figure it out, but basically I ended up I found a VIN number of a car that was similarly optioned on Auto Trader, and I used that VIN to program the car to make it think that it was a GT automatic. So once we got the entire car programmed to think that it was a GT automatic, then we were golden. Worked fine as a 14 GT 500. Everything works fine. Car runs like 890s. Yeah, it was kind of cool to do that stuff. So, I know we see a good amount of stuff at some of the shops here in DFW that we work closely with. It's kind of cool to do some of this stuff every once in a while. Kind of something that hasn't been done, or getting out there on the raggedy edge.
I did BMW Alpina B7. It came out with close to 1,000 horsepower.
Damn.
That thing was a rocket ship. Factory is like 680.
Damn.
Increases. Yeah, the car is a twin turbo 4.4, but it's just a monster.
I don't get it.
Yeah, it's a $190,000 car.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Some people are nuts, dude.
That's about what your Toyota's worth, isn't it, Steve?
I think the funnest car to drive is the Mercedes-Benz GT AMG. One of my friends has it, and I work on it all the time, and I drive it all the time. That thing is like insanely fast. It's got that knob on the center console when you can take the traction control off the way you want it, and plus it has a race mode. You press race mode, and the car becomes like a monster, a little monster. The car is it's crazy. The steering wheel becomes like hard. It changes ratio on the gears on the steering. So it's like total different car. But it's like a track car, but you know, it's you put it in a comfort mode and it drives like a regular freaking Mercedes. It's got all the luxury in it.
How much was that Mercedes?
283,000. And he got
the Civic Type R's are like that.
He got friends and family discount. They give him 25 grand off the MSRP.
Nice.
All right, guys. Well, I got to wrap it up. Thanks for coming. I'll get this posted up on YouTube so you guys can watch it later if you'd like. Again, thanks, guys, for coming. Sorry about all the internet issues there. But, I appreciate you guys coming and spending your time with me this evening.
No, we appreciate your time, man.
Thank you, Tamora. I appreciate it.
And we appreciate all the work you do too, because you are a lot of help. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but you help me a lot all the time, and you do know your stuff, man.
All right, gentlemen. Well, y'all have a great evening. Have fun. And we'll do this again next week.
Thank you, Steve.
Let me do roll call. I missed one for sure. I'm not sure. He was Elite Phone. He was driving most of the time.
Dwayne Brindle.
Dwayne.
Okay, Dwayne. Appreciate it, guys. Casey, Sam, Andrew, Cody, Dustin, Jimmy, Justin, Tracy, Chris, Will, Willis, Chris Shipman, Tamir. Anybody I missed?
No, I think you got everything.
Guys, again, I want to say thank you just from being part of this forever. This helps build our camaraderie and our common sense. Steve's got a helper. We love that. We love the kids. They're our next generation of the world.
Yeah, I'll send her to you tomorrow.
It's a terrifying future to look at.
Yep. Babysitting only. Thanks again, guys. We really appreciate everything you guys do out there.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Have a good day. Be safe out there. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it, Steve.
Yeah, no problem.
Take care, guys.
Thank you. There, guys.